Do you remember Chandler, the cynical and clumsy but very endearing character from the show Friends? And you will certainly remember Tobey Maguire, this charismatic handsome guy who was one of the first to put on the Spider-Man costume. And where the hell did Mr. Bean, that eternal goofball played by Sir Rowan Atkinson, disappear to? So, if you really want to know what happened to these actors, watch this video until the end, and I assure you that you will not regret it at all. Let's start. If there's a Hollywood star that we don't hear much about lately, it's Will Smith. It must be said that after the fiasco he had at the last Oscars ceremony, life is not easy for the charismatic Prince of Bel-Air. You surely remember this memorable slap that he had administered to the actor Chris Rock when the latter had dared to make fun of his wife's hair. Will Smith couldn't stand Rock's jokes about Jada Pinkett Smith's alopecia, so he had decided to avenge his honor. A supposedly chivalrous gesture, but which was not anonymous, forcing the actor of Men in Black to make a solemn and cheerful apology before witnesses. But we have to face the fact that Will Smith's career may be totally broken today, that some people even declare that despite the tons of blockbusters he shot in the past, his dreams of glory must now be relegated to the dustbin. And how could this not be the case when we know that the actor has seen almost all of his projects put on standby or even cancelled? Will Smith has also been banned from attending the Oscars ceremony for the next decade. Not to mention the about face of most of the media, which decided to boycott him very hard. So we are not ready to see the slapping actor in front of a camera again. Catapulted at the age of 12 on the front of the stage thanks to the worldwide success of the Harry Potter saga, Daniel Radcliffe had to face a sudden and precocious fame. Thanks to the role of Harry Potter, Radcliffe was able to become one of the most famous and highest paid actors on the planet. But the other side of the coin was much less brilliant. Daniel Radcliffe was not prepared for such success, and as a child star, he quickly fell into a downward spiral. The young actor took refuge in alcohol, which he had begun to consume in a frenzied way, to the point of becoming an alcoholic. Daniel Radcliffe could no longer bear that his name is permanently associated with the young wizard of Hogwarts, and to try to get rid of this character, he lunged into all sorts of productions, sometimes grotesque, alternating the most absurd and the most bizarre roles. The young actor finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and thanks to the help of his closest friends and relatives, he was finally able to cure his addiction to alcohol. Russell Crowe is undoubtedly one of the best actors in Hollywood, having marked forever the history of cinema with his talented acting and his roles more real than real. Everyone remembers his fabulous interpretation of General Maximus in the epic Gladiator, which won him the Oscar for Best Actor in 2001. The Australian actor then went on to make a series of films that were both commercially and critically successful, such as Master and Commander in 2003 and American Gangster in 2007. At the end of the 2000s, Russell Crowe is considered one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood, and many directors were fighting to include his name in the credits of their films. He began the 2000 decade with a definite advantage, and the roles he was offered were very diverse, which allowed the actor to launch into other cinematographic registers, which he did brilliantly. Crowe's career has never been at a standstill, and his schedule as an actor is literally overloaded. But if we don't see Russell Crowe very often in the media these days, it's just because he decided to take a break and to have a good time with his family, far, far away from the film sets. Fraser is a Canadian actor who is known worldwide for his brilliant interpretation in the film saga The Mummy, released in the early 2000s. The young actor had indeed succeeded in seducing his audience as the adventurer Rick O'Connell, a character out of the ordinary but charismatic, and who was the worthy successor of Indiana Jones. But despite the almost planetary success of this film and its sequels, Brenton mysteriously disappeared from the public scene, and his appearances became increasingly rare. A disappearance which was not going to pass unnoticed by the public, and especially by his unconditional fans, who wondered where the hell their idol had gone. Everyone found it strange indeed that such a talented actor could not continue his career, yet very promising, and the craziest rumors about him began to spread on the internet. But if Brendan Fraser retired from the showbiz world for so long, it was not really of his own accord, because the actor had to endure a real psychological ordeal as a result of a sexual assault of which he would have been a victim. The accused is none other than Philip Berg, one of the biggest names in Hollywood and boss of the association that organizes the Golden Globes. This aggression, which took place in 2003, really sounded the death knell of Brendan's career, who since then has been hiding in his corner, not daring to face the gaze of others. The poor actor suffered as well on the psychic level as on the physical level, since he could never really recover from the accidents of some muscular shootings, where he was more or less seriously injured. Like most child stars of Hollywood, Macaulay Culkin had not been slow to sink into addiction and excesses of all kinds, thus ruining his career, yet extremely promising. Macaulay Culkin was just 10 years old when he played the role of Kevin in the film that became cult, Home Alone. This zany, good-natured comedy was a phenomenal success, and the young boy became America's new darling. He also became one of the most bankable and best-paid actors in Hollywood, with fees of $5 million. But the money did not go into his pockets, unfortunately, because his manager of a father took away every last cent. Macaulay Culkin finally broke free from the yoke of his parents and tried for the first time to have a normal life, like any other kid of his age. But it was without counting on the relentlessness of the press and paparazzi who followed him everywhere, forcing him to hide most of the time. Professionally, the young actor could not digest the fact that he had become less attractive to directors as he grew older. He understood with great bitterness that his career as a child star was well and truly over. And to try to forget, he started using drugs, thus destroying forever his dreams of success and glory. Matthew Perry has known the world consecration at the end of the 1990s with his role of Chandler in the cult series Friends, turning around a band of New York friends and their adventures, often rocky and hilarious. The sitcom, released in 1994, will be a real hit worldwide. The triumph is such that the series will last a whole decade, totaling 236 episodes and 10 seasons, a very rare fact for the time, where the series tended to last on maximum 2 or 3 seasons. As one of the main protagonists of the series, Matthew Perry took full advantage of its success and its media and financial benefits. Indeed, thanks to the very generous fees he received for his role of Chandler, Matthew Perry was able to accumulate a nice fortune, which would probably amount to some $80 million. But despite his immense wealth and all the fame he was able to reap from the sitcom, the actor quickly returned to his old demon of drug addiction. Perry had serious alcoholism problems throughout the series, and he also abused very powerful drugs, a very unsavory cocktail indeed. Because of his harmful addictions and his bad lifestyle, the actor saw his quotation decline at great speed. He accumulates flops and becomes very quickly a second-level actor, very far even from his years of glory and celebrity in Friends. But if the actor is a shadow of his former self today, he can always console himself with being immensely rich. And if he doesn't have an Oscar from the Academy, he can always have one made in solid gold just for him. Tobey Maguire is an American actor who had distinguished himself in the role of Peter Parker in the first trilogy of Spider-Man in 2002. The young actor was indeed unanimously acclaimed by the critics for his masterful interpretation of Spider-Man, and given the almost planetary success of the film, the young actor, then 27 years old, immediately propelled to the rank of world star, with all that this implies as fame and wealth. But at the end of the trilogy in 2007, Tobey Maguire will gradually disappear from the radar, participating only in rare shootings here and there, because the young actor decided to go to the other side of the camera, putting on his hat as a film producer, a hat that suits him very well since Tobey Maguire has already produced some very good films that have been very well received by critics as well as the public. Some of these films have even been classified as real Hollywood blockbusters. as for example, The Fifth Wave, released in 2016 and having earned a little more than $106 million at the global box office. This charismatic interpreter of the Spider-Man is therefore far from wanting to retire from the cinema, to the delight of his countless fans around the world. If you're one of the millions of viewers who loved the Twilight Saga, you're probably wondering where some of its most emblematic actors have gone. Taylor Lautner is definitely one of them, since his role as werewolf Jacob Black in the saga was one of the most defining in the story. The American actor and model had indeed brilliantly interpreted this complex character, so much so that he will even be nominated in the category Best Performance Male for Twilight at the MTV Movie Awards. The worldwide success of the saga, as well as its commercial and critical triumph, propelled Taylor directly to the top of fame and celebrity. The young actor became a veritable sex symbol for magazines such as GQ, Rolling Stone, or People, and was regularly featured on the front page of the latter, displaying his muscular body and his pretty little face to the delight of his hysterical fans. But if his image as a sexy and irresistible man was undeniable, his acting was subject to debate. Taylor was nominated 3 times for the Razzie Awards, a kind of parody trophy that rewards the worst actors in Hollywood. This explains why the actor turns less and less on films, and that his appearances in the cinema are becoming increasingly rare. And finally, we will meet one of the most zany and incorrigible characters on television, the hilarious Mr. Bean. His crazy adventures and hilarious gags have made millions of people around the world laugh out loud. And entire generations will never forget this facetious character. But unfortunately, there is an end to everything. And even Mr. Bean did not escape this sad fate. And it is of course his British interpreter, Sir Rowan Atkinson, who finally decided to throw in the towel and put an end to Mr. Bean's career. Because the English actor really couldn't stand playing Mr. Bean anymore, which was finally too hard a role for his age. Sir Rowan Atkinson decided to take off his famous tweed jacket and to move on to other things, such as the cinema for example, where he has made his way. Now, tell us in the comments what you think of these famous actors who have marked the history of the seventh art, but we don't hear too much about them lately. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.